Welcome back, football fans. The Dallas Cowboys just suffered a tough 30-27 loss to the Carolina Panthers, and yeah, that one stings. It's another painful reminder of how unpredictable and frustrating this team can be. Today, we're diving deep into what went wrong, and trust me, most of it starts with the defense. The Cowboys' defense has been inventing new ways to disappoint lately. Missed assignments, blown coverages, no energy, it's hard to watch. And honestly, fans are running out of patience. Before we break it all down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, let's get to it. It's time for the Dallas Cowboys to seriously consider moving on from Matt Eberflus. And no, this isn't an overreaction. This defense has completely lost its identity. The schemes are flat, the players look confused, and nothing seems to click. It's starting to feel like the dark days of the Mike Nolan defense all over again. At some point, you have to ask, is it the system, the effort, or both? Whatever it is, something has to change. Doing the same thing week after week and expecting different results just doesn't make sense. Even that critical 4-3 defensive call was a mess. Watching Darren Bland line up in soft coverage while linebacker Kenneth Murray was expected to cover the flat on the opposite side? That's a disaster waiting to happen. It's coaching confusion at its finest, and the fans are right to be furious. Something has to give. Whether it's a short-term shuffle or a long-term change, the Cowboys need a defensive wake-up call, fast. Now, let's break down one of the biggest issues from that game, the defensive scheme itself. Darren Bland did exactly what he was coached to do, play off coverage on that side. The real problem? The scheme expected linebacker Kenneth Murray to sprint all the way across the formation and cover the flat on the opposite side. That's just asking too much from any linebacker. This isn't an effort problem, it's a coaching failure. If your strategy is to bait the quarterback into throwing a slant, you'd better have the right coverage ready to stop it. But when your linebacker is stuck between inside coverage duties and an outside flat, you're setting him up to fail before the play even begins. Then there's the run defense, and honestly, it's a mess. On one particular 7-yard run, the Cowboys' front was completely outnumbered. You could see it coming before the snap. The Panthers lined up 6 blockers across the middle, while Dallas had just 5 defenders in the box. That's a recipe for disaster. You've got your defensive end crashing inside, your edges collapsing, and suddenly the offense is just begging to run right through you. And they did, over and over again. It's another sign that this defense isn't being set up for success. It feels like a flashback to the Mike Nolan days, misaligned fronts, poor gap integrity, and no adjustments when the offense exploits it. You can't win football games when your defense keeps handing out easy yards like that. At this point, the Cowboys need to stop overcomplicating things and get back to basics, discipline, fundamentals, and heart. Because right now, it looks like they've forgotten all three. At this point, it doesn't even matter what you call the scheme, duo, inside zone, whatever. The result is the same, it's embarrassing. The Cowboys' defense keeps breaking down in the most predictable ways, and fans have every right to be frustrated. Yes, Matt Eberflus deserves criticism, but let's be real, he's not the only one to blame. The players have to take accountability too. You can't keep giving up big plays, missing tackles, and walking off the field like it's just another Sunday. Where's the fire? Where's the leadership? You want to wear that star on your helmet, then show some pride. Throw a helmet, get loud, rally your teammates, do something that shows this means more than just a paycheck. After the game, Brian Schottenheimer talked about effort. But here's the truth, effort is the bare minimum. This is the National Football League, not a practice field. Trying hard isn't enough when you keep losing the same way every week. Effort doesn't win championships, execution does. And this problem runs deeper than just the field or the sideline, it starts in the front office. Yes, that includes Jerry Jones and the decision-makers who helped build this roster. If you trade away a top defensive cornerstone and don't have a plan to replace him, you're setting up your team, and your coordinator, to fail. At every level, coaching, players, and management, this defense has lost its edge. Until accountability hits everyone involved, the Cowboys will keep spinning in the same frustrating cycle of almost good enough. This all comes back to Jerry Jones, because when you're the general manager and owner, the responsibility ends with you. You hired Matt Eberflus, you built this roster, and you signed off on every decision that led us here. The buck stops right at the top. Let's be honest, this defensive staff was a front office decision from day one. Announcing Brian Schottenheimer and Eberflus at the same time was no coincidence. It was a calculated move, and it hasn't worked. And then, before the game, Jerry jokes on the radio about defenders being afraid to face Rico Dowdle, only to watch the Panthers run the ball straight through this defense hours later. That's not leadership, that's a bad look. You can't talk big before kickoff and then disappear after a loss. If you're going to stand in front of the mic when things are going well, you've got to face the music when they're not. That's what real accountability looks like. At this point, no one gets a pass, not the front office, not the coaching staff, not the players. Everyone shares the blame. Because when a defense collapses like this, it's not about one bad call or one missed tackle, it's about a broken structure from top to bottom. And then there's the coaching on game day. That third down call late in the fourth quarter was hard to watch. Miscommunication, confusion, and another costly mistake when it mattered most. So who's responsible? The truth is, all of them, front office, coaches, and players alike. Each one played a part in this disaster. Now, is the Cowboys' season already over? Not yet. But let's be real, it's on life support. The margin for error is gone. If this team doesn't turn things around immediately, the conversation will shift from playoff hopes to draft position. Let's be honest, this upcoming matchup against the Washington Commanders isn't just another game. It's the game that decides whether the Cowboys still have a heartbeat this season. Right now, sitting at this point in the year, Dallas needed to have at least 3, maybe even 4, wins on the board. Losses to teams like the Bears and Panthers sting twice as hard because those are potential wild card contenders. And if you can't take care of business against teams in that same playoff hunt, your chances fade fast. That's why next week is everything. If the Cowboys fall to Washington, the season might be over. That's not drama, that's reality. A loss here puts you in a hole that even the most optimistic fan would struggle to climb out of. And the schedule ahead doesn't get any easier: Denver, Arizona, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, Los Angeles, New York. It's a gauntlet. Even if Dallas takes a couple of those games, the record could still hover below .500 before December. This team has no room left for excuses. It's time to show some fight, some heart, and some pride. Because if the Cowboys don't turn it around now, Overreaction Monday won't sound like an overreaction anymore, it'll sound like the truth. Should the Cowboys buy at the trade deadline? Honestly, I'm torn on this one. The instinct says yes, the defense needs serious help. But the realist in me says, maybe it's already too late. If we're being honest, this defense looks broken beyond a quick fix. You could trade draft picks for new players, sure, but at what cost? Selling your future for a short-term bandage only makes sense if the team is a contender. Right now, it's hard to call the Cowboys that. The truth is, the front office has some brutal decisions ahead. Do they double down and try to save this season, or start planning for the next one? Let's see what happens against the Commanders and Broncos. Those games will reveal if this team should be a buyer or a seller. Brian Schottenheimer's play calling was a problem. And this one? Yeah, that's not an overreaction. It's the truth. When the game was on the line, the offensive play calling completely fell apart. The final 3 plays were predictable, slow developing, and lifeless. It was like watching the same screen and swing routes recycled over and over again, as if the defense wouldn't notice. The Panthers did notice, and they blew it up every single time. No creativity, no aggression, and no sense of urgency when the team needed it most. At some point, you've got to trust your quarterback to make a play downfield. You can't play scared football and expect to win in the NFL. Those final moments were a coaching meltdown, and it cost them the game. The Cowboys' final offensive drive was a disaster, plain and simple. On that last series, nothing made sense. Jake Ferguson missed his block, but honestly, it wouldn't have mattered. There were 2 defenders waiting on one side for a single blocker. The math didn't add up, and the design failed before the ball was even snapped. Then came another screen, another swing pass into traffic. Everyone was running vertically while the play dumped off short to Javonte Williams and Hunter Luepke. Why? With Dak Prescott playing sharp football and your receivers ready to make plays, why take the ball out of your stars' hands? It felt like the offense was trying to force the run game, even when the line clearly wasn't holding up. The blocking was inconsistent, especially on that short yardage toss to the left. Brock Hoffman and Tyler Smith just couldn't seal the edge, and by the time the ball got outside, the defense was already waiting. And here's the thing, people can argue all day about Dak changing plays at the line, but if your fix for bad play calling is, the quarterback should just audible every time, that's not a Dak problem. That's a coaching problem. Dak's been one of the few bright spots this season. He can't rescue a bad play design every single snap. That's not how football works. Now, let's talk about one of the few real positives, George Pickens. The man was electric. 9 catches, 168 yards, and a touchdown, he was unstoppable. Which makes it even harder to understand why the offense stopped feeding him when it mattered most. If something's working, you keep going back to it. Pickens played with energy, focus, and fire, exactly what this team has been missing on both sides of the ball. Hats off to Dak Prescott and George Pickens, they showed up when others didn't. The pass protection held up surprisingly well, but the defense? No one else gets a passing grade. Maybe Marist Lufau-Eziraku flashed some potential, but not nearly enough snaps to make a real impact. And that's the story of this team right now, flashes of brilliance buried under frustration, inconsistency, and wasted potential. Something has to change, fast.